I'll get to the Kamala of it all in a second, because this is both, I think, something worthwhile for Senate Republicans, but I think it's also an attitude shift that Republicans generally need to understand. But first, I actually want to take seriously the Democrats' contention that Donald Trump should be impeached in his last 10 days or so in office. President Trump, they want to impeach because he led an insurrection on the government at Capitol Hill, and he urged his mob to go become violent and invade the Capitol and scare off all the legislators. And this is unacceptable. It's a threat to the Republic, and therefore we've got to impeach him. That's the charge. Now, what are the facts? President Trump called his supporters to D.C. for a big rally. He went out and addressed that rally. He told people to be strong, and he even told them, or I guess described how they were inevitably going to march to Capitol Hill. And therefore, it's an open and shut case, right? Well, let's listen to what President Trump actually said.
We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country.
Okay, now you've probably heard the first part of that clip before. You might not have heard the second part, where President Trump explicitly says you're going to go there and peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. So doesn't sound to me like he's inciting an insurrection. It sounds like quite the opposite, right? He's explicitly saying, do not be violent, be peaceful. Now, you might say, look, he sent a mob of extremely angry people over to the Capitol and said, be tough, you got to be tough, you can't be weak. So therefore, I don't know, we got to censure the president. I understand the argument of House Republicans who want to censure the president. Probably wouldn't vote for it, but I at least understand that argument. I don't see the argument for impeachment. He didn't do the thing that they are saying that he did, and you can play the tape and listen to it. Not that evidence is going to matter all that much in an impeachment trial, which certainly an impeachment trial of a president who is days away from leaving office is purely political. There's no legal basis for it at all. So this is basically where Republicans and conservatives are fighting the issue right now. Should we impeach Trump? Should we censure Trump? Should we do nothing at all? What are they going to do to us? Right? And it's all very defensive. I'd like to propose an alternative. I think that the Democratic-controlled House is going to try to impeach Trump. I think that the Republican-controlled Senate should censure, or better yet, expel Kamala Harris. Last I checked, Kamala Harris is still a senator, right? And will remain so until she becomes vice president. So, and I guess even if she weren't, the Senate could still pass a resolution to censure her. So why won't they do that? Kamala Harris did not merely encourage the peaceful protesters at the Black Lives Matter riots all over the summer. Kamala Harris posted a fundraising link for the rioters in Minnesota who were arrested to bail them out of jail. That's not saying go over there and peacefully protest. That's saying we are going to subsidize your violent actions. We played a little bit of this briefly yesterday on the show. Kamala Harris went on the Colbert Show and said, these rioters, they ain't going to give it up.
I know that there are protests still happening in major cities across the United States. I'm just not seeing the reporting on it that I had
that's right.
for the first few weeks.
That's right. But they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not. and we should not.
They're not going to let up, and they should not, and we should not. Now, you might say, Michael, Kamala's not talking about the rioters. Kamala's talking about the mostly peaceful protesters. I'm not so sure of that, because there was a lot more violence, a lot more widespread violence during the BLM riots than anything that happened at the Capitol, bad as it was. But moreover, if you're going to say that about Kamala Harris, certainly you have to say that about Trump. If you're going to say BLM was mostly peaceful, surely you have to say that the Capitol Hill was mostly peaceful. Donald Trump went out there and said, you have to do this peacefully. Kamala Harris didn't say anything like that. Not in that clip, and certainly not in the fundraising link. The fundraising link subsidizes the violence. Anything they're going to accuse Trump of, anything they're going to bring up in this impeachment trial, Kamala Harris is far more guilty of. The Democrats control the House, rather. Republicans control the Senate. How come it's only ever House Democrats who are aggressing? How come it's only ever the left who are doing anything? Why is the right always on defense? Why won't Mitch McConnell go out there and at the very least censure Kamala Harris? And better yet, expel her. If they're going to try to impeach Trump, expel Kamala Harris. I don't think that what Trump did, giving a rally, say go be peaceful, I don't think that's an impeachable offense. A little questionable to send a mob down to Capitol Hill, but nothing that he did is impeachable. So if you're going to impeach the guy for that, surely we have to apply even something close to the same standard to the Democrats who did far worse. But that's not going to happen. Mitch McConnell's almost certainly not going to do it. I mean, call your congressman, call your senator rather, try to make it happen, but it almost certainly will not, because of this systemic problem on the right, which is that we play defense and we roll over, and the left aggresses and aggresses and aggresses. All we're talking about here is following legal procedures. Even that, the right is not willing to do. Kamala Harris says, yeah, it's not going to stop, it won't stop, bail out the criminals, we're going to have a great time. No consequences whatsoever. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Michael Knowles Show. To check out the full episode, hit the link in the description or download the Michael Knowles Show wherever you listen to podcasts.